It's Mike.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
This has been, what a week this has been. It's Mike Matthews with
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Episode 2244. Hey, if you do a little bit of math, when you multiply 22, you get 44. This is very fantastic news. It's mathematical views that make our world go round, because everything is some kind of rounded number to the higher or lower degree. I can't talk.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Math stuff. This is not a maths, or if you're British, maths show. It's a Mike Matthews show. It's Mike's Daily Podcast.
Mike's
live from Cafe Anyway.
Daily
Somewhere in Podcastro Valleyton.
Podcast.
The last place on earth. Thank you for listening.
Yeah.
Wow, that podcast picture last podcast was really good. I meant to get you a show yesterday, but something happened. Life got in the way. Life gets away from us all, said Clint Black years ago on a fantastic album that also had the songs Untangle in My Mind and Wherever You Go, There You Are. Yes, Clint Black sang a song called Wherever You Go, There You Are. Now, regardless of how you feel about what was the origins of that? Was that Buddha? Did Buddha say that? I don't know. Someone said that. Maybe I just said it. But it's true. You have to reconcile things, because where you are is what's happening now. And do you want to feel present? Do you want to feel absent? Do you want to drink some absinthe? I would not suggest drinking any absinthe because it's pretty powerful stuff. I had some actually in Alameda, on the fine island of Alameda. I had some at the Hangar, was it Hangar 1? That distillery out there next to Faction Brewing. Not to give all these booze places plugs, but... And I have not drank any booze as of late.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Thank you, A-Frame. The podcast picture today is not of me drinking booze, but me hanging out with a woman who is like booze to me. She makes me happy. She makes me smile. She's been a positive influence in my life for the past 3 years. In fact, the podcast I did the day that I met her, because this podcast is over 10 years old now, and I was with this fine animal right here, Basil the Boxer. Yes, we met each other. This dog is the reason why we met. My lovely lady friend. And so, yes, you'll see a picture of her and I at MikesDailyPodcast.com, all the social media that you can find me on. And if you want a link to all the social media, you can go to MikesDailyPodcast.com. Incidentally, on this hike, this was a week ago, we took this hike up in the area, the hills above Podcastro Valley, the Anthony Chabot Park area, East Bay Regional Park District. There's Lake Chabot off in the background. The day we took this picture, she took a picture of me. I would have posted a picture of just myself, but good gosh, I got a gut. I got the COVID gut, the covert gut. Dang it. Which leads me to ask this, to bring this on. I think I feel as if I have started a bunch of thoughts and I have completed none of them. Do you get that feeling? Good. It's not just me then. All right. What did we learn from the pandemic? I think you and I are starting to feel a little bit like back to normal in a weird way, even though there are parts of the world that are nowhere near normal. But in some ways, we are feeling a lot like we did a year and, let's see, it all went nuts March of last year. So I guess we could safely say like a year and 3 months. A year and 3 months ago, we're back to about where we were, except some of us are a bit heavier, like myself. Some of us have lost people that we loved since then. A lot has changed. Okay. What have we learned, though? And I went to yalemedicine.org for this. Masks are useful tools. Yes, I, for one, will be wearing masks forever now. Not all the time, but I will definitely, when I am in a questionable public area, like let's say I'm on a BART, or I am in a fair, or I'm in mostly enclosed areas, though, when I'm in an enclosed area with a lot of people, I'm going to be wearing a mask from here on out. Because I'll tell you one thing, this past year, and I'm going to probably tell you more than one thing because it is Mike's Daily Podcast. But over the past year wearing a mask, I have not caught a cold. I have been more healthy. Is that good grammar? I've been more healthier. That's bad grammar. But I have been healthy for the most part because I have not caught any viruses from other people because I've been wearing a mask. Now, I don't know how effective a mask is. Let's dive into this. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention recently relaxed its masking guidance for those who have been fully vaccinated. That's right. 2 shots, and then you wait 2 weeks. So 2 and 2, like we started off the show with 2244, today's podcast. That's the FF episode. So 2 and 2, and then you're through and through. And then you're okay with you can wear a mask in crowded areas, I guess. But when the pandemic began, it necessitated a global effort to ensure that everyone practiced behaviors to keep themselves healthy and safe and keep others healthy as well. This included the widespread wearing of masks indoors and outside. And people driving in cars with masks on and they're by themselves alone in a car, I don't get that. And I saw that months ago, even when the outbreaks were at a peak, and I'm like, you're probably not going to catch anything with your windows rolled up and you're driving 80 miles an hour down the freeway. I don't think anything you're going to catch anything, but people are really overly protective. And I think one thing that we've learned, and here we are in California today of all days, Great America reopened in San Jose. The amusement park. It finally reopened today. Meanwhile, over in Florida, Disney World or whatever you call it, the Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Disney Hollywood and the Wild Animal Kingdom and all that, they have been open since the summer. Because there's this thing I watch, the Disney Food Blog on YouTube, and they've been talking nonstop about, they've got this going on in Florida, Disney Orlando, this, da-da-da-da-da. They were open right away. Now, there were all these restrictions, a lot of social distancing. They didn't let that many people into the park. All these rules. But still, it was open as we go outside a cafe anyway. We were bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcaster Valley 10. So what have we learned? Because of the pandemic, we've learned that our governor was maybe a little overly protective, a little hysterical, and now he's going to probably be recalled. With what is he going to be replaced with? I don't know. A Jenner, the John Jeff Cox, whatever his name is. Oh gosh, his ads are pretty bad. I saw one. One keeps popping up on my YouTube channel. Like he's driving along in a car, and it says something like, "Do you want beauty? Or do you want the beast?" No, is that what it said? Beauty or, I don't know. It equated Gavin with being beautiful or something. I don't know what that is. Okay. Look, here's what the way I look at it is, as I say the word look several times, and that's one thing I hate about talk radio and any pundit. You watch anybody who's a pundit says the word look way too often, in my opinion. Any rate, and I say any rate a lot. This is the thing, is that in California, in any state, when you become a one-party state, that gets pretty, you're opening yourself up to issues. And I've lived in the state when it was a two-party state, when we had Republican governors. Ronald Reagan came from here. The other guy came from here that I can't think of at the moment. I'm not really a political pundit myself. Oh, Schwarzenegger was our governor. That's right. But still, I mean, you gotta open yourself. I mean, it'd be better if most people agree, in my opinion, or in my world that I have seen, the people I've surveyed in my small little tiny planet world, A lot of people would like more than a two-party system. Diversity. Open it up to a variety so that we can get some more views and we don't have to... Anywho. So that's another thing, right? The whole Gavin thing. Newsom and all that. That got opened up. Okay, what else? That whole thing. Possibly no Trump because of the pandemic. Because he got a lot of negative publicity for how he handled it. That's all there. And then there's also the whole, maybe some people were a little overly paranoid. And then there were some people that were underly paranoid. You know what? It's weird how many conservative talk show hosts got COVID. It's like a lot of them said, why are you wearing a mask? I can't see you smile. That's terrible. The left doesn't want us to show off our smiles, so they put masks on our face. It's a conspiracy and all of that. But gosh, how many talk show hosts, conservative, Trump, a lot of people in his party, he even got the coronavirus. So what does this all mean? It means maybe to be careful, but err on the side of caution. Somehow find a happy medium. Not everyone practiced preventative measures such as mask wearing, maintaining a 6-foot distance, and washing hands frequently. And those were really the 3 rules people had to follow. Here's the other thing we learned. We as Americans will politicize everything. All we're trying to do is be careful, but then suddenly being careful was considered, oh, you're part of the Democrat Party. You're a raging liberal. But then, if you're not overly careful, then you're a conservative. I don't know. What is this? That just goes to show what we do. We politicize everything. And that's because we have a lot of, let's face it, if you're listening to if you're into listening to political pundits or conservative talk show hosts, liberal talk show hosts, whatever, they are going to say something extreme to keep you listening, something shocking to keep you listening. So they are going to say something like people that wear masks are idiots, or they'll say something like that, or something like, people that don't wear masks are reckless and all that. So it's crazy. That's one thing we've learned. But it was simple. And these are rules we should keep following. You should wash your hands frequently. I noticed a lot, you probably did too, before the pandemic struck, that people were going to, if you were in a public restroom, how many people did you see walk out of there without washing their hands? And certainly not washing their hands for 20 seconds like they told us to. People were like, well, I'm an American, so I ain't going to wash my hands. Well, you're going to get sick because you're being stupid. And believe it or not, those little viruses and those little bacteria, they don't follow one political party or another. It's just common sense. So I guess what I'm saying is politicizing common sense is a bad thing. And we go into some bad areas when we're not using our common sense and we're using our political leanings to dictate what we do. All right. Here's an interesting quote from someone, Dr. Juthana. She is the person from, a Yale Medicine infectious disease specialist. There we go. Dr. Juthana said that she hopes the attitudes in the U.S. will shift in the direction of being of COVID-19, where they're practicing, washing hands, old school common sense. She says, I have heard from a number of people who are amazed that we've had no flu this year, and they know masks are one of the reasons. They've told me when the winter comes around, if I'm going out to the grocery store, I may just put on a mask. Telehealth might become the new normal. That's good news for my lovely lady friend who is a therapist. Because well, let's see what we've learned. There are still problems for which you'll get to, you have to see a doctor in person. But then in a lot of areas, remote patient visits got popular. More doctors also encourage patients to track their blood pressure at home, to use at-home equipment for such purposes as diagnosing sleep apnea and even testing for colon cancer. When you're a therapist, mental health, getting yourself, checked for mental health and all of that, telehealth seems to be really good because you can stay at home in the comfort of your own home, and there's a specialist talking to you. So insurers are becoming more likely to cover telehealth. Vaccines are powerful tools. Given the recent positive results from vaccine trials, vaccines are proving to be powerful for preventing disease. And there is a caution that a vaccine is not a magic bullet. Scientists can't always produce one that works. As advanced science is, there have been multiple failed efforts to develop a vaccine against the HIV virus. This time, we were lucky that we were able to build on the strengths that we've learned from other vaccine development strategies to develop multiple vaccines for COVID-19. Lesson 4, everyone is not treated equally, especially in a pandemic. There have been disparities that were magnified. Racial and ethnic minority groups especially have had disproportionately higher rates of hospitalization for COVID-19 than non-Hispanic white people. In every age group, many other groups faced higher levels of risk or stress. We need to take mental health seriously, and it kind of goes back to what I was talking about. That is, there is a rise in reported mental health problems that have been described as a second pandemic, highlighting mental health as an issue that needs to be addressed, especially as we're working from home. And that was something else that moved us along, working from home. Why do you got to go all the way to the office when a lot of this can be done at home? Checking your emails can be done at home. Of course, and that also leads to mental health issues, because then you don't have the refuge of being at home and being, nicely ensconced away from all the stress at work. We have the capacity for resilience. While everyone's situation is different, many have seen that it's possible to be resilient in a crisis. I did a podcast recently about resilience. People have practiced self-care in a multitude of ways during the pandemic as they were forced to adjust to new work schedules, change their gym routines, and cut back on socializing. But as a friend of mine said, we need to get back outside again. We need to start. There are some people that are just staying at home still. They're still self-isolating, and it's like, you know what? There is a great opening up now, and you should get outside and get back to normal. Community is essential, and technology is too. People who are part of a community during the pandemic realized the importance of human connection, and those who didn't have that kind of support realized that they need us. A lot of people who couldn't go to church, well, you heard the uproar from people that go to church. We need to be able to, congregate. It's called a congregation for a reason. Then I heard some stupid remarks from a pastor saying that the whole wearing masks and the whole trying to be careful of trying not to get, and spread the coronavirus was actually some kind of conspiracy campaign against the Bible, which is just, no. This goes back to common sense. That made no sense to me. Why a pastor is spending his time at the pulpit discussing that, trying to word some kind of anti-CDC sermon just to that serves no one's purpose except for his own. And sometimes you need a dose of humility. Scientists and non-scientists alike learn that a virus can be more powerful than they are. This was evident in the way of knowledge about the virus. The way knowledge about the virus changed over time in the past year, scientific investigation of it evolved. You heard, and this caused Fauci no end of, and it will still call him, it will cause him all kinds of grief to the day he retires, is that, he constantly changed his theories and what he thought and what he said we should do. And that completely caused the right to hate him and to not trust him. As infectious disease doctors, we were resident experts, this Dr. Juthani says that I was mentioning earlier, at the beginning of the pandemic, because we understand pathogens in general, and based on what we've seen in the past, we might say there are certain things that are likely to be true, but we've seen that we have to take these pathogens seriously. We know that COVID-19 is not the flu. All these strokes and clots and the loss of smell and taste that have gone on for months are things that we could have never known or predicted. So you have to have respect for the unknown and respect science, but also try to give scientists the benefit of the doubt. That is in Yale Medicine. There are probably other things that you have learned over the past year that maybe we should not forget moving forward. If you would like to chime in and share, you can call me at 336-MM Daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews, Daily as in what this podcast tries to be. But you know what? Life gets in the way, as I said earlier. Life gets away from us all. So, please, tell me what you think. 336-MM Daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews, Daily as in what this podcast is, generally. Okay. Dolly Parton. If you could ask Dolly Parton one question, what would it be? Say it now. Okay, I'll say it. Dolly, you've described yourself as a dreamer, but you're also a savvy businesswoman. How do you reconcile those two aspects of yourself? That is fascinating, that question, because, and that was asked actually by Costco Connection. And I need to go to Costco soon. Not to give them a plug. Here's a slug. Your place is too crowded. But I gotta go get some stuff from there. I think I'll go this week. It's been a while. I shop there like every 2 months now. Used to go every month, but it's just too much for me. Okay. How, as an artist, can you also be a good business person? Because those two parts of the brain don't seem to want to cooperate. Business person, artist. Here's what she said. Anybody can dream, but you got to get off your butt and get out and make it come true. I always say that it's okay to dream. It's even okay to change dreams in the middle of a stream. Ooh, she was rhyming there. She's always a songwriter, always writing songs, even as she's talking to Costco. As long as you know you're still heading toward a direction. But you've got to put legs, arms, fingers, toes, wings, whatever you got on a dream. In other words, you've got to make it come true. You've got to work it before it comes true. So that's the business side of me. Like I say, there are lots of dreamers out there that just sit around and dream forever. But they don't get to see them come true because they don't have the spunk to get out and work for it. That's right. Make the dream come true. All right. Quick little thing like I'd like to do whenever I do a podcast on Saturday. I like to talk about bosses, good bosses, bad bosses. Good bosses know how to set the correct rhythm and pace for their organizations and people. They know when to press and when to back off. Bad bosses tend to press too hard, too often, and for too long. Bad bosses imply that the best pace is a continuous sprint rather than a steady pace. Steady wins the race. Good bosses know tactically and strategically to apply the brakes and accelerator properly to manage their organization so they will neither brake too fast, nor too often, nor accelerate beyond the capacity of their people. When there's an urgency to bring a product to market, particularly when bosses say the product will be a game changer and previous delays have occurred, Bosses may accelerate when they change, brake, and brake when they should accelerate. When multiple managers engage in uncoordinated accelerating and braking, little good comes from it. Most vehicles have a rate of travel at which they are most efficient and happy, and if you pay attention, the vehicle will tell you what that rate is. Organizations behave in a similar manner. Good bosses pay attention to this reality. Bad bosses don't. Good bosses have a sense of the resource burn required to set the necessary pace to meet objectives, goals, and mission statements. Bad bosses don't have the same degree of perception. And bad bosses fail to achieve either the direction and or pace required for organizational stability, growth, and productivity. This requires a sense of resource burn, and all leaders should pay attention to it. That's from Good Success, Learning Good Lessons from Bad Leaders by E. Arthur Self, PhD. Hey, I'm going to be on the radio doing my music show. I would love you to join me. I'll be on tomorrow and every Sunday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Pacific time. So tune in, and there's a link at MikesDailyPodcast.com to where you can listen to this. Hey, look who's outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Hello, Michael Masters, Madame Rootabega, and yes, I love to look at things. Ooh, that's good. When you look at things, you see them. Look who else is here. Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant. And it's a Bison Bentley. Do you know that? Mike, that was really profound what you just said there. Yeah, profane. Do you know that? I was talking to someone today who was telling me about how in the Bay Area there is so much music. If anybody you've known in the Bay Area who's grown up in the Bay Area, and I have actually I visited the Bay Area. I'm a native Californian, but I would visit the Bay Area a lot in the 90s and in the O's. And then in the late O's, I moved here to the Bay Area. And so I'm not really a native, but the people that I have known that I've become friends with that are natives, everybody has met a huge musician of some sort. Someone told me a story about running into Steve Perry in a supermarket, and Steve Perry said, "Hide me because there are these girls that are chasing after me," and she said, "Okay, you can stand behind me." She was kind of a large woman. Someone else told me today that their dad used to play guitar with Sly from Sly and the Family Stone, knew him in community college. Another person told me that their mom's hairdresser was a backup dancer for MC Hammer. It just goes on and on. Oh, somebody told me that their sister knew one of the singers from En Vogue. It just is amazing. I knew a guy, one of the bands I interviewed in the early days of Mike's Daily Podcast when I interviewed bands. I had the band Dead Cat Hat. You can listen to that interview as well at MikesDailyPodcast.com. And one of the singers for that band used to date Green Day's lead singer, Billie Joe Armstrong's wife. So it goes on and on. Anywho, that was an interesting observation I just wanted to throw out there. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer. Wrapping up the show, A-Frame, who's going to be having her baby shower next weekend, and I can't make it, sorry.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!